What if I told you that a person could walk into a crowded bar, surrounded by friends, and simply vanish without a trace? No signs of struggle, no desperate calls for help, just gone. This isn't a movie plot or a story ripped from the pages of a crime novel. This is the real-life mystery of Brian Shaffer, a young medical student with a bright future, whose ordinary night out turned into one of the most perplexing disappearances in modern history. Brian Randall Shaffer was born on February 25, 1979, in Pickerington, a suburb of Columbus. He was the oldest of two boys in the Shaffer family, with a younger brother named Derek. The Shaffer family was close-knit, and Brian was described by those who knew him as a kind, intelligent, and outgoing young man. Brian attended Pickerington High School, where he was a good student and participated in various extracurricular activities. After graduating from high school in 1997, Brian pursued higher education at Ohio State University, one of the largest universities in the country. At OSU, Brian initially majored in microbiology, a field that matched his academic talents and interests. He later decided to pursue a career in medicine, which led him to enroll in OSU's College of Medicine. By 2006, Brian was in his second year of medical school, where he was known for his dedication to his studies and his dream of becoming a doctor. Despite the demands of medical school, Brian had a vibrant social life. He was a regular at local bars and had a close group of friends. He was also in a serious relationship with Alexis Wager, a fellow medical student. The couple had been dating for a few years and were considered very much in love. In fact, they had planned a romantic getaway to Miami, Florida, right after spring break in early April 2006. However, Brian's life wasn't without challenges. In March 2006, just weeks before his disappearance, his mother, Renee Shaffer, passed away after a battle with cancer. Her death was a significant loss for Brian, who was very close to her. Friends and family noticed that her passing had a profound impact on him, though he continued to push forward with his studies and daily life. On the night of March 31, 2006, Brian Shaffer decided to take a break from the stress of medical school. He and his friend, Clint Florence, made plans to go out for drinks. It was a Friday night, and spring break was just starting at Ohio State University, so the timing seemed perfect. Brian and Clint started their night at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a popular bar located in the Arena District of Columbus, Ohio. The Ugly Tuna was known for its lively atmosphere and was a favorite spot for students from OSU. The two friends were also joined by another friend later in the evening. Throughout the night, the group bar hopped to different locations, including places like the Short North area, but they eventually made their way back to the Ugly Tuna. Brian was seen on security cameras entering the bar around 1:15 a.m., and later, at about 1:55 a.m., the camera captured him standing near the escalator outside the bar. In this footage, Brian is seen talking to two women. After their conversation, Brian walks back toward the entrance of the bar and disappears from view. This was the last time anyone saw Brian. The most puzzling part of this case is that there is no footage of Brian leaving the bar. The Ugly Tuna Saloon had only one public entrance and exit, and all of it was covered by security cameras. Despite this, Brian never appeared on any of the footage showing people leaving the bar that night. After the bar closed at 2 a.m., Clint and Meredith tried to contact Brian, but he was nowhere to be found. They assumed he had gone home, but when they couldn't reach him the next day, they became worried. Brian was supposed to leave for a trip to Miami with his girlfriend. But when he didn't show up, alarm bells started ringing. Alexis and Brian's family immediately knew something was wrong, and they reported him missing. The Columbus police launched an extensive investigation. They reviewed hours of surveillance footage from the Ugly Tuna and surrounding areas, but couldn't find any evidence of Brian leaving the bar. They searched nearby alleys, rooftops, and dumpsters, and even checked the nearby Olentangy River, but there was no sign of him. Brian's disappearance from a crowded bar in the middle of a busy entertainment district, without a trace, left everyone puzzled. How could someone vanish into thin air with so many people around and with cameras watching? This question marks the beginning of a mystery that, even after years, has left everyone searching for answers. When Brian Shaffer didn't show up for his planned trip to Miami on April 3, 2006, his girlfriend, Alexis Wager, knew something was terribly wrong. Alexis had been trying to call Brian since the night he went out, but he never answered. She, along with Brian's family and friends, contacted the Columbus police to report him missing. The police took the case seriously from the start. They quickly began to investigate, starting with the last place Brian was seen, the Ugly Tuna Saloon. Investigators combed through hours of surveillance footage from both inside and outside the bar, as well as from nearby businesses and street cameras. They were looking for any sign of Brian leaving the area. Surprisingly, despite all this footage, there was no trace of him leaving the bar. Police also interviewed everyone who had been with Brian that night, including Clint Florence and Meredith Reed. Both said they had no idea what happened to him after they lost sight of him inside the bar. They thought he might have gone home on his own, but no one could confirm seeing him leave. As days turned into weeks, the search for Brian expanded. Police conducted searches of nearby areas, including alleys, rooftops, construction sites, and even the sewers. They also brought in search dogs and checked the Olentangy River, which runs through Columbus. Despite these extensive efforts, no physical evidence was found. The case quickly gained media attention, and soon theories began to emerge. Many people, including some investigators, believe that Brian may have been the victim of foul play. There are theories that he might have gotten into an altercation inside the bar or was attacked after leaving through an unknown exit. However, there's no evidence of a struggle, and no one has come forward with information suggesting an attack. Some people wonder if Brian might have decided to disappear voluntarily. This theory is partly based on his recent behavior after his mother's death, which had deeply affected him. Friends and family, however, find this hard to believe. They say that Brian was looking forward to his future, especially his upcoming trip to Miami with Alexis. Additionally, his credit cards, bank accounts, and cell phone were never used again after that night, which would make it difficult for him to survive if he had indeed run away. There is also a more controversial theory that Brian's case might be connected to the so-called smiley face killers. This theory suggests that a group of serial killers is responsible for the deaths of numerous young men across the Midwest, often leaving a smiley face near the crime scenes. However, there is no solid evidence linking Brian's disappearance to this theory, and it remains speculative. Despite all these theories, Brian Shaffer's disappearance remains an unsolved mystery. The lack of evidence, the absence of witnesses, and the dead-end leads have left investigators and the public with more questions than answers. The case has been reviewed multiple times over the years, but each time, it ends in the same frustrating conclusion. Brian Shaffer vanished without a trace. As we dive deeper into the events of that fateful night, one detail has sparked particular interest and speculation: a reported disagreement between Brian Shaffer and his friend Clint Florence while they were at the Ugly Tuna Saloon. According to some sources, including statements from acquaintances and hints gathered during the investigation, Brian and Clint may have had a disagreement during their night out. While the exact nature of the argument isn't fully clear, it's been suggested that tensions arose between the two friends as the night progressed. This disagreement, however, is shrouded in mystery. Witnesses at the bar have offered varying accounts, with some saying that they noticed a tense exchange between the two, while others recall seeing nothing out of the ordinary. The police have never officially confirmed the nature of this disagreement, leaving it up to speculation. The implications of this potential conflict are significant. Some theorists have wondered if this argument could have led to Brian deciding to leave the bar on his own, perhaps through a back exit or a less visible route, seeking solitude or a break from the situation. However, the fact that no security footage shows Brian leaving the bar complicates this theory. Clint's reluctance to discuss the specifics of that night, particularly his refusal to take a polygraph test, has only fueled further speculation. This disagreement, however minor or major, is one of the many puzzle pieces in this complex and confounding case. As we continue to piece together the events of that night, we are left with the unsettling possibility that the disagreement could have been a turning point, setting off a chain of events that led to Brian's mysterious disappearance. Or it could be a red herring, a distraction from the real mystery that lies at the heart of this case. The disappearance of Brian Shaffer didn't just leave the police and the public puzzled. It left a gaping hole in the lives of those who loved him most. Brian's father, Randy Shaffer, was devastated by his son's disappearance. Randy was a devoted father who had already endured the painful loss of his wife. Randy dedicated himself to finding Brian. Holding on to hope that his son might still be alive, he kept in touch with the police regularly. Tragically, Randy Shaffer passed away in 2008 in a freak accident when a tree fell on him during a storm. His death added another layer of sadness to the Shaffer family's story, as Randy never got the answers he desperately sought. Brian's younger brother, Derek Shaffer, was also deeply affected by his brother's disappearance. The two were close, and Derek has often spoken about the pain of not knowing what happened to Brian. After Randy's death, Derek became the last immediate family member left to carry on the search for answers. He has continued to advocate for his brother, but the years of uncertainty have taken their toll. For Brian's girlfriend, Alexis Wager, The disappearance was particularly heartbreaking. Alexis and Brian had been dating for a few years and were very much in love. They had even talked about getting married. In the days following his disappearance, Alexis repeatedly called Brian's phone, hoping for any sign of him. At one point, she even received a call from his number, but it turned out to be a glitch, with no connection to Brian. Despite holding on to hope for a long time, Alexis eventually had to face the reality that Brian might never come back. Brian's friends also struggled with his disappearance. The event has haunted them. As the years have passed, the pain of losing Brian has remained fresh for those who knew him. Vigils and memorials have been held in his honor, and his friends and family continue to keep his memory alive. As the years have passed, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer has remained one of the most baffling unsolved cases in recent history. Despite numerous efforts by the police, private investigators, and even internet sleuths, no new evidence has come to light. The mystery of how Brian could disappear from a crowded bar in the middle of a busy city without anyone noticing or without any trace remains unanswered. The disappearance of Brian Shaffer has become a haunting story, not just because of the mystery itself, but because of the profound impact it has had on his loved ones and the community. It's a reminder that even in a world filled with technology and surveillance, a person can still vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions. The disappearance of Brian Shaffer is a mystery that continues to captivate and confound. It's a story filled with hope, heartbreak, and unanswered questions. As we close this chapter, we remember Brian for the bright and promising young man he was, someone who was loved by many and who still remains in the hearts of those who knew him. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of the unexplained and the macabre. And remember, sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that are true. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.